if every lawyer in, let's just call it America, if you could teach them all one thing about legal operations, what would that be?
That efficiency and technology is easy and it's fun and it is energizing and it's good for you personally. It's good for the legal department and it creates a competitive advantage for the company.
I'm Hal Marcus.
And I'm Memme Woodiway.
And this is Meeting of the Minds, the legal AI podcast from Evisort.
We interview lawyers, professors, and legal operations pioneers that are pushing the envelope.
Leaders using technology to drive great business outcomes and shape the future of the profession. I'm so excited to share this next interview with Connie Brenton. She is one of those people that needs no introduction, but we're going to do that anyway. So here's her introduction. For anyone that doesn't know Connie, I don't know who that would be at this point if you're in this space, but she founded and led the Clock organization for quite some years. She has now founded legalops.com. She just has a stellar background. And you've been working with her for a while, Memme, right?
Yeah, we've been working with Connie since she was VP of Legal Operations at NetApp. Now she's actually VP Law, Technology, and Operations there. And she is one of the early folks who was really using artificial intelligence to drive legal operations and drive the delivery of legal services forward within her organization. So yeah, very exciting, incredibly powerful woman. We were lucky enough to have her in with us.
In studio.
Exactly. We had the on-air lights flashing and everything. And so really exciting to get everyone else to listen in to some of her insights.
Yeah, we talked about the history of legal ops, the future of legal ops, advice for people entering legal ops, and how generative AI is turning the whole industry on its head. Lots of great observations. And without further ado, how about we jump into it? Connie Brenton, thanks so much for being here with us today.
I am delighted to be here.
Well, I mean, it is really our honor to have the legendary Connie Brenton with us today. For those few folks who might have been logging in and don't know, please tell us a little bit about your background in kind of building and developing this space that we now call legal operations.
Well, thank you for that. I have been in the legal operations space long enough that the number of people who have legal operations in their titles went from about 150 to 200,000 in about a period of 10 years. I started my official legal operations function or role at Sun Microsystems under the direction of Mike Dillon. And then Sun was purchased by Oracle, and I stood the role up at Oracle. And then I moved to NetApp, where I worked with Matt Fawcett as the chief of staff and director of legal operations there.
So, Connie, one of the reasons I was so eager to talk to you today is that I heard a conversation you had, an interview you did with Memme 2 years ago. And you went through the history of legal ops. And I loved hearing that because when I started practicing, that role didn't exist. When you started practicing, that role didn't exist. It's emerged over the years, and you've been more than having a front row seat. You've been one of the leaders in all of this. So summarize for us, if you would, what's that journey been like?
It's been a very interesting journey that there are many of us now who have participated in it. But the primary determination of where the role has been and where it is going is tied to the role of the general counsel. As the role of the general counsel expands, so does the role of legal operations expand. I started my early career as a practicing attorney in litigation, and I have an MBA. So it's a natural skill set that drove me to the role.
So you have the practice experience, you have a JD, and you have an MBA. That is not the most natural, the most everyday kind of combination that you see. How did that impact your ability to find this niche?
The role of legal operations is really the role of running legal like a business. It's why we named our conference Running Legal Like a Business, because as the in-house departments grew from a general counsel of one to now many thousands, might be the case for Google or Microsoft. That takes a different skill set and it involves the running of a real business. It has become a business unit. In addition, we have become a business organizational function that goes across the entire enterprise. And we need the skill set to not only communicate with our business partners, but also create a competitive advantage for the company.
By the way, I just have to know, did you choose running legal like a business because you wanted that acronym RLAB?
No, but thank you for that.
Okay. People should practice saying that out loud, I think. Now, has that emerged because the role of the GC, as you said, has changed? Are the GCs driving this kind of change? Or is it coming externally and being sort of thrust upon the GCs?
That's a very interesting question because that answer is different depending on which organization you're looking at. So, ideally, this change should be coming down from the CEO, the CFO, and asking legal really run your organizations like a business. It used to be that legal was there to just guard the company. Now the legal departments are there to guard the company and guide the company, particularly when you're talking about AI or generative AI. Legal and legal operations executives are in a position that they can guard because there need to be some guardrails around AI and then also guide the company. And because legal was so late to the technology industry.
Shocked I am to hear what you're saying. Legal was late to technology?
Still. And because we are so late, we have some of the best solutions because we're not trying to fix a platform. We are actually creating a user interface that's user friendly and adoptable by the other business units in enterprise.
You say that legal has been late to AI, but you certainly have not personally. You've been using AI solutions, within NetApp and other companies for years. For folks beginning to look at this and thinking about what are some maybe low-hanging fruit use cases where you can get a lot of value from artificial intelligence, do you have any idea or advice for folks?
So I would recommend that the people, particularly if you're new in legal operations, that you say yes to the demos that are being offered to you. Because the more data points that you obtain and the more broad vision and knowledge of what is available and what is coming available, the easier it is for you to make good decisions and to truly become a strategic partner with your internal business clients. So I'm saying go and listen to all of the demos that you possibly can. And then when you make a decision, know that you will be making some mistakes because this is new technology. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Get into a mindset that you are going to tweak and recover and move forward. In order to do that in an environment that is changing so quickly, you really have to tap into your community. It used to be when I first started, I knew every technology out there. I knew the company, I knew the CEO, I knew the functionality. There's no way that a single person now can know all of the technology and know what is the right decision at any single time without also tapping into the community.
And I love that advice, that openness. I think so much of the change since ChatGPT, even past technologies, has been a mindset shift in the industry and curiosity around these technologies. Though, to pick on that advice a little bit, we all know a lot of things can look good in a demo. How can folks maybe dive a little bit deeper to make sure that once they're working with a tool, we joke sometimes that even in our space, CLM has sometimes stood for a career limiting move. And so how can you make sure that these things actually can deliver on the value that you're seeing on demos?
That's a very good point. So I have seen hundreds of demos, and I can tell you that everything works in a demo.
I've seen it a few times when it doesn't, but go ahead, please continue.
Oh, that's true. Then you're really in trouble. Well, then you take screenshots. But what was a differentiator when I was sitting and looking at Evisort the very first time, I thought, well, this looks very interesting. This is different and it looks like it works. But we are in a demo. So, how about we extend our call by an hour? I will, in real time, send you 20 agreements, and I want to see it work in real time with my agreements. And it worked. And that was okay, got it, check. And we became Evisort customers.
So you've said a couple of things that I find almost contradictory because, on the one hand, you're absolutely right. You need to take in a lot, take chances, you're going to make mistakes. But at the same time, we're dealing with a role that is about guarding the company historically, is very risk averse, is cautious about that. How do you reconcile those two and make the legal teams then forward looking and pro tech, pro change?
Okay, so you hit on the reason that legal operations executives are tough. We have a lot of grit because the personality type of lawyers, and I'm going to refer to Dr. Larry Richards' research on the personality type of attorneys. They have low resilience, they're perfectionists, they have trouble recovering. And then you have the legal operations executives who are innovative and quick and willing to make mistakes and are resilient. And so that is a natural tension in any legal department. That reconciliation in collaboration with the general counsel that makes the role of legal operations successful or not. Because if you choose a technology and the rest of the department or the attorneys in the department will not use it, who cares what you bought? And so it is a combination of personality types. It is a function of what technology you decided to buy first. I would recommend not buying a very complex, highly configurable system to be your very first rollout with a group of attorneys
Dip
because
your toe in the water.
dip your toe in the water. And the reason that I think that it's very important to see a lot of technology, and it's a good example when I saw Evisort, I knew what was out there. So when I saw the Evisort technology, I also knew this is different. And it's only because I had seen 100 other technologies. And that's why I spent the extra time, that extra hour saying, all right, this is different, but I also need to kick the tires. I want you now to prove to me that it works not only during the demo, but outside the demo. But you have to have a foundation upon which to build to know what questions to ask when you're looking at a technology or a functionality. And AI is so new that it is a requirement of legal operations executives to stay up on this particular segment of the market because it's changing so quickly. So if you thought you knew the solution 6 months ago and now looked at it today, it is different. And you need to understand the nuances so that you can start prepping your very conservative legal department to prepare for tweaks along the way. And it's much easier to roll out a technology system when you say to the rest of the department, we know there are going to be mistakes. We know this is a transformational technology. So be a little bit easy on yourself, on the operations team, and the industry as we move forward together. This is one area where legal can truly provide a competitive advantage to the company. We are one of the few organizations that span the whole enterprise, and some of what we're learning in legal can be transferred to the rest of our internal business clients.
And I mean, when we talking about how legal work touches all of the other business units, Something that came up in our last conversation was the idea that yes, AI can be automating some legal work, but some legal work is some of the most boring work that is kind of out there. And there's a lot of talk about elevating the role of legal operations, elevating the role of legal by automating some of this more tedious work. How have you been seeing that impact grow in this new age of AI?
Okay, so anytime you're rolling out a newish technology, those people in the enterprise who will have the most knowledge of that will be the IT group. And so we became very close friends with the IT organization because we're bringing, and again, I'll go back to the fact that we were late to the table with technology, and that has now flipped us to the top of the pile in terms of what is coming out of the legal industry and how it can be integrated into the entire business. Then, when you couple that partnership with IT, there is an appreciation for what each is doing. And then technology, ironically, becomes evangelical for the legal department. And so, what happened at NetApp was when a new technology came in, so we say an RPA came in, the IT department came to legal first and said, "Will you test this new technology?" That is the point you have a very close, collaborative, win-win relationship created.
Part of why that happened is because they figured if the lawyers can use it, anyone can use it.
And that's a true statement.
But let me challenge that a little bit, having just said that, because we keep saying, and believe me, this is earned, and I've seen it for many years too, that legal is late to the game always with technology and all of that. It makes perfect sense, plenty to prove it. At the same time, legal was early with AI for the discovery use case.
That's right.
So what did we learn from that? What did legal, gain from that years of experience dealing with that one very high cost, very high pressure use case? And how has that influenced the way legal works with AI ever since?
Well, I think you bring up an interesting gap because you're right that when I first started my first legal operations role, I traveled all through India because most of the e-discovery work was outsourced to India. And so I went very deep into the e-discovery technologies. It was at a time where they were using biometrics to get into a room in India. So we have been using AI for 20 years, 15 or 20 years. The gap is in the essence of your question. We've been using it all this time, and we know we have a whole segment of the legal industry who are experts. Now, I think those legal experts need to start contributing to other functionality within a legal department, including contracting. So it's simply another good use case that now looks like the shiny object. But in reality, we've been at AI and we have experts amongst us for many, many years.
For general counsels now scrambling to find legal operations leaders, if you could give advice to them, what would or should they look for in a very first legal operations leader, and what should they task them with, in your opinion?
So, legalops.com has two reference models, and we have been talking about legal departments like they're snowflakes for many years. And we really are not snowflakes. And we still, after all this time, even after Jeff and I started Clock and created the core competencies, we still do not have a unified language and a unified set of reference models. That is something that I am hoping that we can create this year. And it's called the pyramid, and it has the 15 practice areas within it. And if you are going to hire a legal operations executive, first of all, it's very hard to hire somebody and train them because there is still no good single location where you can get training on this, although we've had many, many try. And so you have to decide as a legal department and as the general counsel what's most important to you. On your strategic roadmap, which one of the 15 practice areas in the pyramid do you want to address first? And then you bring in as experienced a talent as you possibly can afford and then start rolling it out. I am a firm believer that this is the first hire any legal department. This is also the role that pays for itself within the first 6, 8 months.
And how does that come about? What are those kinds of savings that you can really point to and quantify that quickly?
There are almost always low hanging fruit. So you just need to identify maybe it is you don't have a legal front door. Maybe it is you are paying rack rates across the board because you have not had anybody take a deep dive into outside counsel management. Maybe you have a ton of litigation and there is new technology available. So you need to make a decision right away on how you are going to put the right work with the right talent. Are you going to use outside counsel? Are you going to use your in house team? Are you going to use technology, an alternative legal service provider, a staffing agency? So before you hire a legal operations, well, I'm saying before you hire, but your legal operations executive will help you do this. Develop a strategic plan, and then you can build your legal operations function out.
Stepping a bit back, though, when you talk about how it's kind of hard to find sometimes some of these experienced legal operations leaders, and we talked about you have that joint training from both law school and MBA. As this field continues to develop, it seems like this is a question that's still being asked. Who and what school, law school, business school, is it college? Who do you think is best to train the next generation of legal operations leaders? And is there an answer to that yet?
It's a really good question. And I think you've got to start as early as you possibly can. So, we have created a partnership with Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge. They are actively training their students in legal operations. But what's interesting is they have started a program that goes all the way back to elementary school. So they are building a roadmap for those who are very young in their careers so that at least they know that this is an option, and then they take it all the way through the high school and then move it into the law school. And I also think the business schools have a very prominent place in the development of this talent.
I mentioned earlier that I'd listened to an interview you did with Meme a couple of years ago. There were a few things in there that stood out for me, and one of them was this. You mentioned that some study had been done, or a series of studies, and legal had emerged as the most boring work there is. So, firstly, I mean, how dare you? Honestly, Connie, how dare you?
It's just data. Don't get emotional. It's just data,
all
data.
right. I'm back. I'm okay. But I was intrigued by the second part of that, which is it doesn't have to be. And the technology has an implication for that. It has an impact on the daily life. What have you seen of that, just in terms of the joy of the experience, the engagement in the work that's being done?
Oh my goodness, this is the best role ever because it changes every day. So if you are the type of person who likes to learn, if you have a sense of curiosity, if you're okay failing on a regular basis, this is a perfect time to be involved in legal because it doesn't matter whether you're in legal operations. So here's the other thing that we're seeing is the functionality of the technology is migrating to the attorneys. And when the attorneys put their hand on this technology, it is fun. I mean, really, once you get over the no, I don't want to do anything differently than I have been doing for most of my career, it is energizing. And so I think AI is good for the business, it's good for the mindset, it's good for the culture of not only the legal department, but also the enterprise. One other thing that I should have talked about is Another place that you can and should get educated is through becoming part of a community. There is a very small group of experts in the legal operations space who donate their time and their learnings and their mistakes and their knowledge freely. So tap into those people so that you don't have to make the same mistakes and so that you can leapfrog some of the technologies that have advanced far beyond where I first started looking at technologies.
So, for all that you were just saying about the impact this has on the daily life of the attorney, nevertheless, AI is raising concerns. It has all along, but never so much as this past year with the advent of generative AI. Why do you think the impact of generative AI on the mindset, the concerns that it's raising, why do you think that it's so much more significant now for those folks?
Well, it's a transformative technology. It's brand new and it is here to stay. This is not a fad. And so there needs to be educational programs so that the general counsel and any of those of us who are using generative AI are fully aware of the risks that we are taking because we are taking a risk. You can't turn off AI because there is some risk. It's not going away. And it's important to get involved with the community and understand the technology early so that you can develop a foundation upon which you can grow as the maturity of AI continues to grow. And it's growing so quickly. This also is where you've got to tap into your community. And the community involves everybody in the ecosystem. It's your providers, it's your law firms, it's your in house colleagues and constituents, it's everybody because a lot of the real knowledge sits with the providers who have been working on creating solutions for a number of years now, and they're already ahead. So don't be shy about asking your provider to come in and do a full on educational thought leadership program for your legal departments.
We've been talking a lot about AI in the legal use case and the concerns that it raises and the implications it has, all the great and concerning all at once. I have a theory that a lot of the reason we're hearing a lot of concerns raised from attorneys has little to do with the legal use cases of AI that are being presented to them. It's because they're in a role they're not typically in with new technology. They're advising for the whole company on a range of use cases, and many of them are very concerning and have much broader implications for data privacy, cybersecurity, IP protection than the legal use cases that they're evaluating.
I completely agree with that. And because our internal clients are the internal business units, we are highly sensitive to ensuring that we are delivering extraordinarily good legal services in an area that's brand new. But because of that, I think it probably will ultimately lead to the use of more AI in legal because we've had to learn it in order to service our business clients.
There's also a group of people when they hear automation, does that mean what am I going to be doing? And for that fear that some folks have around replacement, there's obviously opportunities to upskill because if you're going to be using algorithms, you need someone to prompt engineer, you need someone to train algorithms, you need someone to analyze that data and make business decisions, etc. But for the folks that hear that word automation and maybe get a little bit of the jitters, what would you have to say to them about potentially embracing these technologies as opposed to shying away from them?
Yeah, I think that you're spot on, Mimi, is that anytime the members of the legal department think that, one, they have to work differently, or if they do work differently, they're going to then work themselves out of a job, that's a pretty heavy disincentive. However, if you can partner with the people who will have their hands on the technology and start to offer the training to up level, it's so obvious now to most everybody that we need to develop a new skill set within the enterprise. And so those who get chosen to leverage this technology and get chosen to be trained in prompting, for example, have a huge advantage in terms of flexibility in their go forward career path.
And as you said, shamefully, frankly, some lawyers out there still don't know what legal operations is, be they in law firms or in-house or otherwise. If every lawyer in, let's just call it America, if you could teach them all one thing about legal operations, what would that be?
That efficiency and technology is easy and it's fun and it is energizing and it's good for you personally. It's good for the legal department and it creates a competitive advantage for the company.
Knowing as much as you do about the history of legal ops and as much as you do about where it's headed, the future of legal ops to you is what?
Data, data, data. You need to have your data cleaned. You need to have it structured in order to move forward in an efficient, accurate manner to create the competitive advantage for the company. If your data is stable and cleansed, the possibilities of what you could do with the technology that is here now and will be coming a year from now, it's almost unimaginable.
Connie Brenton, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Meeting of the Minds, the Legal AI podcast, is brought to you by Evisort. To learn more about Evisort and how we can help you contract better with AI, visit Evisort, EVISORT.com.
You can find Meeting of the Minds on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to click subscribe so you won't miss future episodes.
On behalf of everyone here at Evisort, thanks for tuning in.